The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone. We are just few minutes away to start our webinar. Let's wait for some time and then I think we can start.
Muted. Unmuted.
I think we can start now. Yeah. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on archiving Salesforce data into AWS RDS Relational Database System. My name is Ratish and I'm the product manager at Septis for our products Data Archiver and Data Connectiva. Today I'm joining in with two wonderful people and best brains in the industry, Mr. Nandakumar, who is our Chief Technical Architect.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining this webinar.
And Dilipa Ashokan, who is our Project Lead.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining.
Just a little housekeeping before we kickstart our webinar. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar panel. I'll bring them up during the Q&A session at the end. Also, we have questions for my wonderful audience, which I will ask through a poll. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our webinar. Here we are going to talk about one of the business problems, that is archiving. Why a business requires an archiving solution? First and foremost, if the business is hitting on the storage limits, there's a huge cost involved in buying the additional storage. Secondly, because of this huge data, there's a hit on the performance of the application. And last but not the least, how to retain the data for the long term for compliance and audit purpose. To answer all these business problems, it requires an archiving solution. And guess what? We have come up with some wonderful archiving solution, that is Data Archiver and Data Connectiva. Data Archiver, which is a native solution, helps you to archive your unused data to Salesforce Big Object. And Data Connectiva, which is an extended solution to Data Archiver, helps you to move your unused data to any of the external storage, that is AWS, Heroku, Azure, and Google Cloud. Let me now talk about one of our customer, University of Phoenix, and what was the business problem they were facing and how Data Connectiva was able to address them all. About University of Phoenix, it was founded in 1976. It is the largest university in North America, offering over 20 undergraduate and graduate degree programs. University of Phoenix is a pioneer of many innovations that serve working students today. The business problems that they were facing were, they have 600 GB of archivable data, including old cases and email. Apart from this, they also had a big chunk of field history data, which they wanted to archive. They were dealing with highly sensitive data, so security was a concern for them. They were looking for a solution which can take care of archive data security. They already had a preset complete infrastructure of AWS Postgres, which they wanted to leverage for archiving needs. Also, they had a specific requirement that they wanted to see all the archive record using a console app. For all these business problems, we suggested them for Data Connectiva, which helped them move their archivable data to external storage of AWS, which also considered the requirement of archived data security. Data Connectiva also helped them to view their archive record using the console app. Now, to understand how Data Connectiva works and helps the business, we need to understand its architecture. Mr. Nandakumar will now walk you through the architecture of data connectiva.
Yeah, thanks, Ritesh. Let me walk through on the architecture. Yeah, as you can see the architecture diagram. So basically what that means is data archiver, the one you see in the App Exchange, supports big object. And for those leads or customers, who wanted external storage, and that's when we have one more extension package called Connectiva. You see it on the right hand side. So for Connectiva to work, overall there are three components. One is the data archiver, which I told about. Then the Connectiva, which is also a Salesforce extension package. This acts more like a connector. And the third one is the data archiver gateway component. So this is a web component, and this has to be hosted in your AWS or any of the cloud storage using any web containers. So default, as I said, we support big object once you install the data archiver onto your org. And anytime you need external storage, and that's when you need this data connectiva and the data connectiva gateway. So once these three things are configured, it's all good to archive your Salesforce data into external storage. So the external storage that we support at currently is 5 different types of relational databases. One is Redshift, MS SQL, MySQL, Postgres, and Oracle. And the deployment can vary from different cloud storage. For example, cloud platforms. For example, AWS, we support Heroku, we support Azure, we also support Google Platform. In addition to these, you can also use on-premise. In case if you have an on-premise databases, you can very well connect to that directly all the way from Salesforce. Using our data archiver, the gateway component. So with these three, it's all good to put the data into your databases, and it can also pull the data from the databases whenever we view the data seamlessly. So this gateway component does also have another piece, what we call it as the OData. So it does support OData protocol for all your database queries. So with this, the good part is Salesforce, you can also create some external object pointed to this OData, which means your archived data, which is sitting on your relational database, can be directly linked into Salesforce using the external object, wherein any reports or any global search also can be performed against that. So that's one part of that. And the next part is during archiving, any object that you configure on the Salesforce, those gets resulted as a tables in your relational databases, along with all the relationship and that things. So anytime you archive data, the data also goes all the way through these two different components and then goes into a database. Once the data is in databases, you can also do any search, any fetching of all those records directly from Salesforce too. And the good part is the data integrity between your Salesforce data and the archive data is very well intact. Meaning, from your parent record, you can always go and fetch all your child records directly coming from your archive storage. The third important thing is analytics. Since the data is in the database, you can run any analytics on top of that. For example, Einstein Analytics or any of your own different tools for analytics. You can also run any of the ETL tools to fetch all this data directly from database and use for any of your business reasons. So that way, the data is available directly with you on your relational database. At the same time, it's very much accessible to you in the Salesforce also. The another important use case is the user need not have to worry about where the data is actually coming from. So we have built data archive in such a way that the data, whether it's Salesforce or whether it's coming from archive storage, the data presentation is intact and the user experience does not really change. So that's a good part about this data archive as a whole solution. So that's pretty much on the Archiva, data Archiva. I would also like to talk on the security aspects. So the data that goes between from Salesforce to your external storage is pretty much secured. So we use HTTPS connection between these two. And in addition to that, we also support basic authentication. So which means from Salesforce, you can create a named credential and mention the URL where the gateway component is running. And with the named credential, you can mention the username and password. And the same can be configured in the connect gateway side also. In addition to that, we also support a whitelisting of IP to prevent any user accessing this gateway directly. So that way you can whitelist the access onto that. Third thing is all the password that we store in the gateway is encrypted. So we have a utility. Anytime you want to store any passwords of let's say the database passwords, those are all encrypted using ESP256-bit encryption. So we do have a utility as part of this gateway. So that way the security is taken care from all aspects, not only from the data that goes through the wire, in addition to storing the configuration and everything is secured. That's on the security level. So that's pretty much on the high level architecture. And if you have any questions, please do post and we'll be glad to answer all of your queries. That's pretty much from my side. And over to you, Ritesh.
Thank you, Nanda, for wonderfully explaining the architecture of Data Connectiva. Now, Tilipa will walk you through the demo to understand how Data Connectiva actually works.
Thank you, Ratish. So when you install the Data Archiva and the Data Connectiva apps into your org, this is the first screen that you see. So this is the home page for the app, and this is a dashboard that shows all the recent statistics as well as your storage consumptions. Right now it shows a few objects configured already, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So let's first see how to configure the different objects to be archived. So this is the screen to configure the different objects. So you have an option to select the object that has to be archived into the external storage, and you can choose the different fields for indexing. This will really help with the performance, and we even have a quick find to find the index fields that you're interested in. So once the index fields are selected, you can choose any fields for encryption. This can be very much helpful for the sensitive data. And if at all there are a few fields that you would like to exclude and not archive them, you can choose them as well. And the next step is a very important step where you can configure the different related objects to be archived under this main object. So once you have the different objects selected under this, it means that the archiving of this main object will also cause the auto archival of the related records under it. Once this is the summary page where you can see the different configurations that you have done, and clicking on done creates the table with the same schema as that in the Salesforce. I'm using Postgres for this demo, and you can see the different tables created already as per the configuration from our Data Archiva Data Connectiva app. So now that the table is created, how are we going to archive the records? So there are two different ways how we generally configure the archival process. The first one allows you to schedule it. As you can see, there are different options where you can choose the timing and then you can schedule it. And the filter is particularly handy when you want to archive just the closed cases, or maybe you just want to archive the cases that are older than 365 days. For that, you can give the criteria here in the filter and set up the schedule. Once it is set up, the schedule is going to run in the backend and archive the records for you. And then we have the process builder. So considering you have a complex business process in your end, and you need the archival of the records to be initiated at a particular stage in your process, that is when this process builder comes in handy, and we have an exposed Apex class for you that you can add in the process builder, and this will allow the archival of a record, as well as there is an option to archive the children as well. So once the archival is done, when we query from the database, we are going to see the records inserted there. And once the archival is done, there are different ways in which you can fetch the archived records and view them. The first way is through the Find tab of the Data Archiver app itself. You click on Find, choose your object, give your conditions, and you get the result. So currently you can see the two cases that are archived, and you can click on Preview to open the individual records. So this is one particular case that has been archived, and here is the restore option. This restore does not only restore the case object, but also any related records that are under it. So another really interesting way to see your archived records would be along with the live data itself. Here you can see the parent account that has not been archived, but our component lets you pull the archived records under the account. So here we see the archived cases. So that's it about the demo. And now we see the key features just to highlight. Yeah, so as we saw, the scheduler is a key feature that allows us to schedule it and forget about it. And for sensitive data, we have encryption at rest that comes in handy. And as most of you know, the field history records get deleted within 18 months in Salesforce. But if you need to preserve it, then the data connectiva has you covered. And complex data relationships can be configured, and relationships up to nth level is handled by the app. Whenever archival is initiated, if there is any discrepancy in the metadata between Salesforce and your external storage, the app takes care of it as well. And data integrity is ensured throughout the lifecycle of the data, and we support bulk archival of records as well as easy search and restore. And if there is a huge bulk of data to be archived, we also support a one-time data migration into the database. And we have several useful APIs that can be extended or consumed at the consumer end. And coming to the benefits, as this supports external storage, it means a lot of storage options as well as cost savings for you. And because the data is deleted from the Salesforce end, it also means enhanced CRM performance. Data governance and GDPR compliance is ensured in the app, and different analytics options can be used on top of the database, as Nanda mentioned. We support archiving of chatter feed as well, and we support both the Lightning and Classic interfaces of Salesforce. We believe in do it yourself, so that means Data Connectiva comes with a very easy installation and setup. And Data Connectiva app caters to all the different types of businesses across the market and to all the different clouds of Salesforce. That's it from my end. Over to you, Ratish.
So what are the benefits of storing my archivable data into external storage? Why should I use it? And here is the answer for it. First, it's highly scalable. Means you can scale your database, compute, and storage resource with only a few clicks or an API call. It's secure. Means Amazon RDS engine types offer encryption at rest and encryption in transit. It's cost effective. You pay very low rates and only for the resources you actually consume. Data backup. Amazon RDS synchronously replicates the data to its standby instances in different availability zone. Easy data retrieval. You can use any complex queries to retrieve your archived data. And it's easy to deploy. It makes it easy to go from project conception to deployment. And we are not done yet. On the benefits part, you can build any kind of reporting using Einstein Analytics or any other reporting tool for your analytics purpose, as you can see on the screen. Data Connectiva seamlessly works with highly regulated industries such as healthcare and life science, financial services, government, manufacturing, education, consumer goods, retail and lifestyle, and legal and much more. We have few of the resources where you can to know more about this application, you can visit our website. Also, we have App Exchange listing for both of our product like Archiva and Connectiva. If you want to request for a demo, you can do it by using this link. Now we can have our Q&A session. Just throw all your questions in your mind and we will be more than happy to answer them all.
So I can see one question from Melina saying, asking, can you remove or hide the restore button? The answer is yes, very much, and it's a button. So since it's a button that you can add into your page layout, you have very much flexibility to add or remove that. Okay, thank you, Melina. Another general question, every time when we do this demo to our leads or customers, one common questions do come in terms of the Connectiva when compared to big object. People do ask, if they're using big object, is it easy to shift to AWS, or if they're using AWS, is it easy to shift to big object, vice versa? Typically during the deployment, first time configuration of data archive, we ask this question, which storage is preferred. So one time the configuration, once it's enabled for, let's say, big object, it is not possible to move to AWS later point of time. But however, depending on the situation, as a product we don't support, but this can be definitely tweaked, and because the data going to get scattered in both, and the business has to make a decision whether it's fine to move to another storage when their existing data already is having in a different one. Once this decision is made, and from the engineering from our side, we can help to move this from big object to AWS or from AWS to big object. So that technically it's possible to do that. So this is one common questions we get. I see there are a bunch of other questions also. There's one more question Sambit is asking. How to retrieve already archived records, and will this also restore child records? So restore is one of the functionality that we provide, and for business reasons, we provide a single record, meaning from parent, you can always restore one record at a time, which means, let's say you restore case record, and all the child of the case, be it case comments or any other custom objects you have it nth level of child, having more than one child, entire hierarchy is brought in back into your system. For business reasons, we don't support bulk restore. What that means is you cannot select a range of a date. Let's say you want 1 year old data to be restored back. For business reasons, we don't support that. But however, a record level, you can always go back and pull that back into the system along with all the child hierarchy. And I have another question. What are the different databases Data Connectiva supports? As I mentioned in the architectural discussion, at present, we support 5 different types of relational databases: Redshift, MS SQL, MySQL, and Postgres. In case if anybody have preference to any other database other than listed ones, we can support. It's all about just adding a connector to those databases, and rest all should work fine. And one more question also, I see that. Is the restore option only be per record, or can a bulk amount of data be restored? I think I answered this question. We support, right now in the product supports one record, parent record. If parent has got bunch of child records as part of that reference, we take care of restoring all of those. But any point, it's only record level you can restore, from the parent for business reason, as I said. The reason behind that is whenever you choose any data for archiving, it means that these are all the data, unused data, or maybe less required data, and those are the data you want to offload into your archive storage. And the question comes, why would you need all of those data back into your live system? So that's a business question. Business has to make a decision on that. And so far, based on our experience dealing with multiple customers, and we never felt a reason wherein a data gets archived and the customer wants to bring all the data. Maybe there is a necessity to bring a few records. That is why we support a record level restore. And we have two more questions also. Can you remove or hide the restore button? I think yes, we did. We support that. Okay, I'm going back, sorry. Yeah, and one more question. Are there any limitations to the scheduling of the activity? Can you have multiple schedules to a different type of objects to archive at different times? Yes, very much. As you can see, for example, let's say you have case comments, tasks, email message, bunch of hierarchy. Once you configure case, I'm just taking case as an example. Yes, sorry about that. Once you have an object along with the child configured, each of these also can be configured independently to archive in a different schedule. Let's say you want to archive case on a monthly basis, and any of the email messages also is part of the child. And if you want to also archive those independently, whether it's part of case or maybe a different object, you can still do that. So to answer your question directly, yes, it's very much possible to schedule it on object level and also other object levels. So anytime any records get archived, it takes care of all the child hierarchy, and each child also can be independently scheduled to a different filter policies. Okay, I think that's pretty much, I kind of addressed all the questions that are posted right now. And if you have more questions, feel free to send us an email, and we'll be happy to respond to all your queries. As Ritesh mentioned, if you require any demo, any point of time, just make a request. I think we should be good to a demo. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. We have 2 more minutes. If there is any more questions, I think we can add on. Yeah, Ritesh, you had something to say?
Yeah, we can just wait for 2 more minutes. That's what I was saying. Like, we can wait for 2 more minutes. All the audience, please put in all your questions. We are waiting for that to answer that.
Yeah, while you do that, Data Connectiva, also we are making a release, both Data Archiva and Data Connectiva in the next couple of weeks. That has a lot of new features, exciting features. So we will be sharing the release notes to all of our customers. So anytime you have any kind of queries that you wanted to know about more on the Data Archiva and Connectiva, feel free. I think with the new release, it has a lot more features coming up, in that new release.
Yeah. If no more questions are there, we can close on this webinar. Thank you all for joining us for this webinar. We will be having much more this kind of a webinar in future. We'll request all you to join for that webinar also. Thank you guys. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining this webinar. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.